At D23 over the weekend, Disney made some pretty big announcements about things coming to the Disney parks. And especially when it comes to Disney World, they had announced cars are coming to Magic Kingdom as well as a Villains Land. But they were scarce on the details, and many people started speculating where this might go. But come Monday morning, Disney revealed some more concept art showing where these lands were going to go. And I would say the reaction has been, I want to say mixed, but I think a lot of people have a lot of concerns about where this is going because of what is being taken out and what this means for Walt's legacy and really some of the backbone of what has made Magic Kingdom over the years. So we have an article here from Disney Parks blog that goes over these details, and then we're going to go through some of the reactions we found on X Twitter and some thoughts we have on this. So, hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. And like I said, we have this headline that says new details revealed for largest expansion at Magic Kingdom. And we take a look at the concept art here. We can see it's not beyond Big Thunder like was expected. This is actually replacing a major part of Magic Kingdom. So we'll go on to read the article here. So this past weekend at D23, Disney Experiences Chairman Josh D'Amaro revealed exciting new details about what's coming to Walt Disney World. In addition to getting up close and personal with monsters and villains, soon you'll be able to explore the uncharted territory of the great outdoors with an expansion in Frontierland themed around Pixar Animation Studios Cars. It says it's time to leave Radiator Springs and head west into exciting new locations. To make way for this completely new frontier, the rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island will be transformed into vast and rugged terrains for a rally race with some of the world's most iconic racers. When they say transformed, they mean bulldozed and taken out completely. And I think that's the issue with this. And again, we'll go into this in a second. It says, quote, "We are thrilled to create this original Cars adventure and put our guests in the driver's seat as we quite literally explore a new frontier in Frontierland," shared Michael Hungen, Walt Disney World Portfolio Executive Producer at Walt Disney Imagineering. Part of pioneering this new story includes tapping into the themes of exploration and adventure that inspires so many of us to keep propelling forward. Anytime we touch Magic Kingdom, we recognize the massive responsibility that exists to get it right and tell stories that connect with our guests. I don't know if they do. I think we'll kind of get into this, but I think messing with, again, I've had many thoughts about Frontierland and really what it means, especially when you understand what it meant to Walt. And Frontierland was the epitome of what the American spirit was. And I think a lot of Walt's ideals and a lot of his ideas and things were inspired by the American frontier. And to make an argument, now, I know we're well beyond the pale of this, and everything Disney's going to do is going to be an IP, but I don't really know how you would say Cars as an IP, or really Cars, just any Cars in general, is going to fit into Frontierland given the Wild West. I think shoehorning is the definition of what you would say there. It says this new area will bring you along for the ride with a brand new thrilling rally race through the mountains, climbing trails, and dodging geysers, in addition to a second attraction geared towards fun for the whole family. So ahead of work, revving into high gear next year, guests will have plenty of time to experience the charm and nostalgia of Frontierland as it is today. And cruising just around the bend, guests will be able to venture beyond Big Thunder Mountain into an all-new land dedicated to Disney's villains. Inspired by the wicked characters fans know and loathe, the multi-acre expansion will include two major attractions plus dining and shopping. It says Walt Disney is pushing creative boundaries to dark and mysterious levels to bring this new first of its kind land to life. So to get a better visual of what is changing, we can see over here from the Main Street News over on Twitter X. They have a nice little thing here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so we can get a better view of this. But this is how it currently stands right now. So you got Frontierland is right here. This is where Splash Mountain was, now Tiana's by Adventure. And you got Big Thunder. And then this is what it's going to change into here. And so basically, they're just taking out the rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island to have this Cars land put in here. Now, the assumption before was everything was going to go beyond Big Thunder back here, which apparently that's where the villains land is going to go. But the Cars area is going to go right smack in the middle of all of this. So some of the reactions on Twitter X, as you imagine, they're probably back and forth, some pro, some against this. Disney Glimpses here says, look, you can think what you want, but they are utterly ruining these theme parks, every single one. They are essentially becoming Universal Parks with Disney IP. If that's your thing, then so be it. This one here, Chaz Finder over here says, this is infinitely worse than the Splash retheme. I'm seriously at a loss for words on this. With so much land available to develop on, they just chose to destroy beloved attractions. You know, not happy with you, Josh. This decision is rooted in greed and hatred for what Walt and what he stood for. Disney Clips guy says, seeing the wild reactions to the potential loss of Liberty Bell and Tom Sawyer Island, I love the aesthetic value of them, but they are definitely not getting the attention they once did. I'd rather see the parks expand into unused lands. Disney Glimpses has another tweet here. It says, by the way, with this transformation, Disney is opening the unspeakable door of allowing Universal to directly compete with them. Prior to this, Disney World specifically meant the Magic Kingdom was a unique force that could not be beat. Everything changes today. Wallin Ballin on Twitter says, whoa, Cars Land concept art just dropped. They are really just completely axing Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island. This feels like a major mistake, one they will regret for many decades to come. You know, and again, we look at Mickey Central. They have a good point here. It says, even though I think Cars is better suited for Hollywood studios, I completely agree. I would propose shortening the river if the alternative is no river at all. Some ambiance and sightlines would remain. The Liberty Bell riverboat would remain, and we'd gain a much needed walkway to the Haunted Mansion corner choke point. Not perfect, but we're backed into a corner here, and they're showing where you potentially could put this and still save the rivers of America in some way. It would be different, but you would still have it there as an aspect to Frontierland. And somebody pointed out, I would much rather have this, but the only issue is I see Villains Land being tucked back behind Cars and Small World, with it being the big new land everyone is excited about. It needs a bigger entrance, which it gets by having its entrance in between Mansion and Big Thunder. In which Mickey Central replies, you're right. I think connecting Fantasyland to Villains Land makes all the sense in the world. I'd add a connection there by Pinocchio Village Host. And that I agree with. I kind of felt like all along Villains Land should connect to Fantasyland in some way. So I think there's ways that they could do this. I just, at this point, more than likely, that ship has probably sailed. And Disney Glimpses, again, another tweet here, has a really good point. He said, just so we're clear, there are clearly two very different types of Disney Parks fans right now. And the legacy 90s kids become phased out in favor of the villains-obsessed Gen Zers. These changes will only accelerate. You have no idea what's in store after this. Mickey Central here has a good post about this as well. It says, to the people in support of demolishing the Rivers of America, claiming it's just empty space or not popular. One, Rivers of America and Liberty Bell steamship are Walt's own vision. The river is meant to represent several important rivers in American history. The Mississippi, where the adventures of Tom Sawyer and adventures of Huckleberry Finn take place, the Columbia, the Potomac, and the Rio Grande. Two, Disneyland has kept their Rivers of America for 70 years specifically because it's Walt's vision. Without Rivers of America, Magic Kingdom isn't a Magic Kingdom park. It's like removing Tomorrowland or Fantasyland. I agree. Three, Disney World property is 40 square miles. Act like it. Four, Magic Kingdom is the world's #1 theme park. Act like it. 5, it's Florida, and we need cool open spaces and water features. Agreed. 6, sightlines and nostalgia should be preserved whenever possible. It is essential to maintain the old, to respect the old, to replenish the old, to enhance the old, to modernize the old. 7, for the love of God, stop demolishing attractions to add attractions. And I think that's the thing about this. Disney World has an advantage. So first off, one thing I will say, Disney World is not Universal Studios. And as much as I like what Universal Studios is doing, I don't want to see Disney become Universal Studios. And that's essentially what they've been doing. Universal is also limited by space. They don't have, Universal is in the midst of trying to build up their legacy, if you will. But their concept of their park is much different. Disney has a legacy. It has Walt. It has the Americana. It has a lot of aspects to it that Universal probably will never have. And instead of leaning into that more and respecting a lot of these things, especially Frontierland, and I've talked about many times, Frontierland is a very Walt-centric thing. And when it was being discussed about, we figured for a long time Frontierland was going away. While technically it's not going away, in a way that it is. They're changing Frontierland to the point where it's nothing what Walt envisioned. And I think instead of respecting that lore and even expanding upon it, they're just completely demolishing it, shoehorning it into this area, and technically keeping Frontierland, but it's not the spirit of Frontierland at this point. And I think that's something that Disney's making a mistake about. I do. I think you can both respect the tradition that you have and lean into that while also expanding and, doing things and adding new things. And we all know at this point, Disney's going to do IPs everywhere. And while sometimes it can be a tightrope to walk this, Disney historically has done this well. They've preserved the tradition aspects of it, and then they've added new things onto it to make it work. With this, it seemingly is just ripping out all of this tradition to put in a Cars IP, which I mean, I would even argue Cars is not even the most relevant of IPs right now, and it's an extended story. So being in Frontierland again, it just doesn't work, and especially when you're ripping out such an iconic thing like the rivers of America. And then Mickey Central goes on to have another post here and says, "Ask yourself, why does Disney want to get rid of this?" And there's a sign on Frontierland, and it says, "Here we experience the story of our country's past, the colorful drama of frontier America, and the exciting days of the covered wagon and the stagecoach, the advent of the railroad and the romantic riverboat." Frontierland is a tribute to the faith, courage, and ingenuity of the pioneers who blazed the trails across America. It makes you wonder, and this is one reason why I felt all along that they would get rid of Frontierland, because current day Disney does not. They don't look at Frontierland as this thing to look back on and look at the history of America and what it was built upon. They look back at it and they just don't like it. And I think that they realized they were going to get, if they got rid of Frontierland completely, they were going to get a lot of flack. And instead of just getting rid of it, they're basically just changing major aspects of it. So they're still basically getting rid of Frontierland. They're just doing it keeping it in name, but it's a name only. It's not the spirit of Frontierland. And it's just another piece of the parks that was a Walt thing that is being ripped out and just traded for an IP. And it just seems so cheap to just rip this out and just put in a Cars themed land in here. And especially considering, if you went beyond Big Thunder, you had room back there to add this part to it. And I think if they did that, I think people would still have their opinions about a Cars land in Magic Kingdom. I would argue it makes way more sense putting it something like Hollywood Studios. But I think at that point, people would be more accepting of it. We had talked about many times, Beyond Big Thunder was proposed that you'd have a Cars land and a Villains land. That's actually expanding. I would argue this really isn't expanding Magic Kingdom. It's just doing what they've been doing, which is replacing one land or attraction with another one. And I think when it comes to feelings and attitudes about this, it really comes down to, you have people that have been going to the parks for a long time that understand and value these things, and then you have people that are younger that they're not going to have the memories of this and what it meant. And really, Walt is more of just something they've seen a statue of, and they really never delved into his life and what these aspects of it meant for. And the fact too that none of these parks would exist, the theme park world as we know it wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Walt. And it definitely seems like the Disney company over the years has, I think, many times would have loved to get away from Walt himself. I mean, and don't forget, at the 50th anniversary, when they unveiled the brand new fireworks show for the 50th anniversary of Magic Kingdom, they had a new show, and in it was a celebration of the Disney parks, and they didn't have Walt in it. And I think that's very telling about the overall attitude that Disney has had toward Walt himself. Even though the company's name is literally him, I think many times they would love to just be able to no longer acknowledge Walt as much and just have it be name only and move on from that. And I think this is sort of a symptom of that. I think Disney on some level doesn't want to be burdened by having to worry about the historical nature of Walt, and they just want to do what they feel is going to get more people into the parks to make more money. They are trying to make a clear statement that they no longer are really concerned with the people that I think for a long time Disney has looked at the people that remember how things used to be and are more annoyed by the fact that they keep bringing these things up of how things were in the 90s and early on, and they just don't want to be bothered with it, and they want to move forward to what they feel is the vision for the parks. And this to me is a pretty clear statement that is exactly what they want to do going forward. Of really, once you look at Splash Mountain being replaced and now this, really there's nothing going to be sacred at Disney, the Disney parks. Now maybe more in Disneyland, because that is Walt's original park, that is the home park. Once this is in there, the only thing you have left that would be original Frontierland would be Big Thunder Mountain. You'd have Pecos Bills and some of the things along Frontierland there, and really that is it. So I actually do think that this is the beginning of Frontierland being phased out. I just think they're going to do it piece by piece, and eventually this becomes something completely different. And I totally understand people are going to say, well, yeah, but everyone's been saying they need to add more things to the parks. And while I agree with that, but again, there's ways to do this and maintain the tradition. There is. And I think, again, that's one of the things that has made Disney different than Universal is they have the tradition aspect. They have the heritage of Walt that they can lean on. It's what makes them different. And as much as I enjoy what Universal Studios is doing, I don't want Disney to become Universal. They are their own thing. It used to be a thing of the Disney way, the Disney difference. But I think this coming out today kind of shows That's not the direction they're going, at least seemingly. That would seem. Now, maybe internally they are. I don't know. I don't have any privy information to that. But looking how they're treating this with Frontierland Rivers of America, it doesn't seem to me that they're going to start looking back on how they used to do things. It seems like they're just full steam ahead, going the path that they're going. And we're going to have to wait and see how this shakes out. If the parks are slammed and they're making money, I don't think Disney's going to much care about their tradition. As of right now, this is what it is going forward. So that's going to be it for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Disney World, Epic Universe, Universal Studios, and pop culture news. And let us know in the comments what you think about all of this. And until next time, we will see you in the parks.